Alright guys, so Psalm 18, you guys repeat after me. The Lord is my rock.
The Lord is my rock.
My fortress and my deliverer.
My fortress and my deliverer.
My God is my rock.
My God is my rock.
In whom I take refuge.
In whom I take refuge.
My shield.
My shield.
And the horn of my salvation.
And the horn of my salvation.
My stronghold.
My stronghold.
You may be seated. Alright, so this might sound a little sacrilegious, but I'm going to have to say it because for years I've been reading these Psalms about David talking about strength, and I can't help but picture our God reigning over us with this grin on his face, doing hook 'em horns. Possibly with a Vince Young jersey on. Salvation, and of course some of you guys are like, whatever, you know, last weekend against UCLA, they grabbed a bull by the horn, they sawed off the horn, and I will say, yeah, they did, right? You guys watched that game? Pretty pathetic, pretty awful, and yet at the same time, the sunset is burnt orange, so, you know, God is certainly on our side. However, our offensive line was not a stronghold. They weren't a shield. They weren't a fortress, were they? Gilbert was getting all messed up back there, and the running back, well, there is no running back. We change it every week anyway. But so, we know, as a good Texan, Longhorn fan, that if things are going bad at UT football, it's time to panic. When we get smoked like that against a team like UCLA, Longhorn fans all over Austin, that's all we talk about. Panic, fear, freaking out. Am I right? Yeah, we take our football pretty seriously in Texas, don't we? On other levels, think about our world right now. Most people are living in panic and in fear. Your parents are probably saying, Johnny, money don't grow on trees, the economy's bad right now, right? You've heard that before? People are losing their jobs. Go back to 9/11, there is this panic, this fear of terrorism in our country. Americans are living in panic and they're living in fear, yet time and time again, we read these scriptures that God gives us through David, the psalmist, and he says, God is my rock. My God is my rock. He is strong. All throughout Scripture, God is an eternal rock. He is the rock of the ages. He is this foundation. And Jesus says, build your house upon the rock. Okay, so when you travel through Israel, you will see stones like this. Big, huge standing stones are called massivot. And the reason they're there is because over time, the Israelites will erect these huge monuments. In fact, if you go to Joshua chapter 4, when the Israelites moved from the desert to the promised land, God said this. He says, Joshua, you're leading the people, and right when the priests step in the Jordan River that's flooding, I'm going to dry the land, and they're going to cross over. Kind of like the Red Sea crossing. But you're going to move into a new land. And so he says this, choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to pick up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, right where the priests are standing, and carry them up, take them with you at the place where you're going to stay tonight. Now, why is that important? Some people know. When you're a child, and you go, Mom, Dad, what's up with the big stones? What's the 12 stones all about? Well, Johnny, let me tell you about this. One day, God fought for us. He delivered us. He moved us into this new land, and so we have these rocks as a representation, a monument to who He is, because He is our rock, He is our fortress, and this day that happened years ago, we will remember forever. God is our rock. You look at the New Testament, Jesus is also rock. He's cornerstone. In fact, I wish I could unpack this and talk a little bit more about it. The word carpenter in the Greek is the word tekton. A tekton is a stone worker, a mason worker, someone who chisels with stone. And so you're thinking, Isaiah 55, right? Look to the rock from which you were cut, the quarry from which you were hewn. There's a rock quarry outside of Nazareth. I got to go, and there's these stone cuts where Jesus possibly would have been working with his father Joseph. The rock of the ages was a worker with rocks. He's the cornerstone. you guys travel back? We've done this before, 2,000 years ago. Ready? Can you do it? Can you go backwards? All right, now we're in the Middle East, Israel, okay? Now you have been following Jesus for the past, I don't know, 2-3 years. You're a disciple. We've talked a little bit about discipleship and rabbis and what that looks like. You're drinking in Jesus' every single word. You're consumed in him. He's taking you to some places that are dangerous. Your mom and dad are like, man, you shouldn't be going there. But I trust this rabbi of yours. Remember, they're young men, probably teenagers. And so it's the end of Jesus' ministry. It's the end of training day, the last day of training camp. And where does he take them? 25 miles up north of Galilee. Now they've been around Samaria, they went to the Decapolis, sketchy area, the wrong side of the tracks, but now they go 25 miles up north. Now I've shared with you guys before that in the southern part of Israel it's dry, it's a desert, it's barren. Galilee's a little bit further up. It's kind of like Texas, it's beautiful, right? That's why Jesus chose to live there, beautiful hill country. You go further north, 25 miles, and it's luscious, vegetation, water, rivers. Here's a picture of it right there. That is the northern part, 25 miles up north. You see the water? Look at the trees. This is beautiful land. Who wouldn't want to live there? Like, why would you want to live in the desert if you got this? But what you got to understand is that in these northern regions, the Israelites and the pagan nations were always mixing religions. The pagan empires started bringing in these different gods, these deities. And after a while, the Greeks came in, and they believed that their gods lived in those waters. Okay? They believed that every spring, the gods would come up out of the waters and they would help them multiply the earth, fertility, in the land. And it would look great and beautiful. So then they would have these huge worship services right here in the north. And the Israelites were always told, don't do it, don't mix with those other religions, but time and time again, they continue to mix with them. Now during the time of Jesus, the Greeks and the Romans had all these, if you guys have taken Greek mythology, some of you in 8th grade, you learn about this. You think, well, it's a myth, it's a story. Back then, they believed it. They worshiped these guys. Now right here, this is called Caesarea Philippi. Say, Caesarea Philippi. Caesar and Philip. Philip was Herod the Great's son. Just pagan city right here. The primary god that was worshipped here was the god of Pan. The word panic comes from Pan. Here's a picture of Pan right here. Half goat, half man. God of fertility, God of revelry. He would cause people to panic. Horrible, disgusting, evil, wicked, nasty things that were going on with the worship of Pan. This area, this grotto, this big, huge rock area, we're going to show a picture right here, is an area where all this went down. This is a niche, or a niche, depending if you're European or American, okay? And this is where they would have worshipped Pan. Little niches around other gods. They would have a statue of Pan there. This big old rock pavement with all these goats, these temple prostitutes, horrible things, worse than Mardi Gras. You cannot imagine what was going on there. So you are a Galilean boy, a teenage boy, and you followed your rabbi up north 25 miles. You're probably questioning his judgment. I can't begin to tell you, in the Galilean region where Jesus picked his disciples, those young men were more conservative than anybody in this room. I'm talking orthodox conservative. They were living today, they had their shirts tucked in at all times with comb-over hair, braided belt, never seen an R-rated movie, they wouldn't even go to a movie theater. They were good boys in the Galilean region. So they go up north to Caesarea Philippi, and they're thinking, what is Jesus doing? Has he lost his mind? Jesus knew quite well what the people up north were doing. Worshipping idols with all of this horrible things that went along with it. They would, evidently they would take a virgin and they would sacrifice her in the waters. And then if her blood came through the other end, then the gods were appeased according to the Greeks. Just one of many ways in which they would worship their gods. And Jesus takes his disciples there for this last training day. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why is he taking us here? There's an area. It's called Sheol, the grave, or other names are Hades or hell. And the gods would come up out of it, and those would be called the gates of Sheol, the gates of the grave, of the dead, of Hades. And so let's look at some more pictures here of what this would have looked like. I want you guys to really feel this presence. I went there, I walked there, it's evil, it's wicked. Right there, that would be the big area where they would sacrifice the virgin and where the gates of Sheol were. Let's take another look, another picture. So it says in Matthew 16, Jesus ends in Caesarea Philippi. And he looks at his disciples and he says, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" Oh, well, some say Elijah, some say John the Baptist, some say Jeremiah, one of the prophets. Then he says, "What about you? Who do you say that I am?" Peter. Man, you can feel the fire in his bones. And Peter just goes, "You are the Messiah. You're the Son of the living God. All this other stuff, it's dead. It's decay. It's destruction. It's horrible. You are the living God." What are we doing here? Jesus said, "Blessed are you, Simon Peter, son of Jonah. For this was not revealed to you by flesh or by blood, but by my Father in heaven." And then he says something very interesting. He says, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." The word Peter is the word Petros. Say Petros. The word rock is the word Petra. Say Petra. He says, "You are Petros, and on this Petra I will build my church." Peter, you're rocky, and I'm going to build my church on the rock. Now, over time, Catholics and Protestants have been fighting. What does that mean, right? They've been splitting and arguing and throwing mud in the air. And I'm sad because I think they're both right. Okay? Clearly, Peter is the rock. His name is Rocky. Okay? So, yeah, I agree with my Catholic brothers and sisters. Protestants say, well, Jesus is the cornerstone. He's the rock. I agree with my Protestant brothers and sisters. But there's a third way of looking at this. Those are both right. Look at where Jesus is. Caesarea Philippi. Massive rock grotto. And he says, "You are rocky. And on this rock I will build my church." On that rock. What? Yeah, surely not, right? He would never say something like that. Until you look at the next line. "And the gates of Hades will not overcome it." Where are the gates of Hades?